This week on the Late Apex, we go through the best Black Friday deals and we talk about Need for Speed Unbound. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Late Apex. I'm Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick next to me as always. But before we get started, let's head through your headlines for this week. Gran Turismo 7 has deployed its 1.26 update. Players will now be able to sell cars from the garage, a long-awaited request from the community. Road Atlanta, well, that's been added along with 3 new cars. The BMW M2 competition, the Ford Sierra RS 500 Cosworth, and the Nissan Silvia S14K's Aero. iRacing have released details about major updates to the GT3 cars and the Dallara LMP2. Both categories have had significant tyre and brake updates expected to increase lap times and improve realism. Frontier have shared details on the next F1 Manager update. Issues around drivers being unable to unlap themselves on green flag conditions and the safety car, well, they've all been resolved. WRC Generations Xbox update has fixed the force feedback issues suffered by players since its release earlier this month. And that has been your update. Well, Sam, Trak Racer, it's another week and it feels like it's another new piece of sim racing hardware to get our hands on.
Going into wheels, it seems. This week are some of the images that we've been shown. A few different GT kind of wheels configurations and also a single-seater wheel as well. For at least the single-seater, large LCD screen, very much F1-esque. It
does look really smart, that, doesn't it?
It does look really good. And then the GT wheel, less of a display, still got a rev counter, however. And you'll be able to see them at the Sim Racing Expo as well, along with potentially a couple of other elements from Trak Racer as well, because they're working on pedals, handbrake, shifter, and also, I believe, a motion rig as well. So they've sort of got the software now to enable them to do all this stuff. And I think over the next sort of 12 months, we're gradually going to see this very exciting equipment all be released eventually.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, really, to almost be like you have everything under one umbrella company, and it's really exciting times ahead. There's so much new hardware been coming out, as we've covered here recently on the Late Apex. Let's get stuck into Black Friday deals. First off, we're going to talk about games. Sam, what's your pick of the bunch? There's so many different offers on at the moment.
Definitely. I think the best one, though, is Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's already very good value for what it offers, and there's a 70% discount at the moment on Steam. There's also discounts as well for console players. So if you haven't tried ACC yet, this is definitely the time to get involved.
Also, discounts on a lot of the DLCs too. Not quite as strong as that very healthy 70%, but even so, that's really good ones. But my pick of the bunch, Sam, is World of Outlaws. Not long come out, and 50% off in the Black Friday sales.
Yeah, it's already a must-have for Dirt's oval racers on consoles.
Oh, most certainly. And let's head across into hardware now. We're going to kick things off with wheels and wheel bases. Sam, what's your pick from the bunch?
Well, the Fanatec Podium DD2 wheel has got a $300 discount at the moment. It's usually 1,500 quid. Now it's only 1,200. It's one of the best direct drive wheels in the market.
Asetek, their Pagani Huara R pedals, they've been a bit pricey, let's say least, about $2,400, but they are 50% off, which is just, they're still on the expensive side, Sam, but just about brought them into reach of us normal commoners, really.
And as we were mentioning before, Trak Racer getting into the electronics arena. However, they've still got obviously one of the best cockpits, and they have got 15% off most of their items.
Now let's get across into not quite sim racing per se, but I mean it's a racing game, and you've got to cover it. Latest Need for Speed Unbound. It's coming out on the 29th of November, and we're kicking off with a very healthy 142 car roster. This is one snippet from, it's actually from the website for the game. This game is like a classic generation-defining muscle car that gets resurrected and redesigned with the style and bravado of tomorrow. What the hell is that all about? But it looks really smart, to be fair, from looking at the video.
Definitely. They've gone for a bit of an anime style for this year, where they got like sort of cartoon graphics when it comes to kind of wheel spin, for example. And it's very artistic. It's kind of inspired by street graffiti.
That's the one thing that I'm not sure about, Sam. I know it's very much in the arcade realm, this game, but I think it's just that one step too far.
I think it might be quite good. I think it's, as long as like the actual gameplay is like intense, then I think that's just going to add to kind of the feeling of it. So Lakeshore City co-op mode seems to be that's going to be the main focus for it. So I think really like online is going to be the main focus rather than single player. I think in a couple of weeks when the game fully releases, then we'll probably be able to see is Need for Speed properly back again in the higher echelons.
Looking forward to giving it a go, and hopefully it doesn't turn me into a milkshake head. Check out Twitter if you're not sure what that one's all about. We're going to head to a quick break right now. We're going to be back on the other side where Sam sits down for a chat with Peter Berryman, pro sim racing driver, and the week ahead here at Apex Racing TV.
So Pete, congratulations on qualifying for PESC next year. What is it about PESC that makes it such a big championship for you guys to qualify for?
Without sounding too disrespectful, ultimately it's the money that makes it as big as it is. Obviously, I mean, if any championship came along, if it was sponsored by, I don't know, My Little Pony, whatever it may be, if they're backing up with a few $100,000 prize pool, I think everyone's going to show up for that. So, I mean, it's pretty cool to have these big brands, but ultimately, yeah, the money is what attracts the sim racers.
And how did this qualifying process compare to the last time you qualified for PESC?
Last year, I think I had maybe 1 or 2 rounds where I had pretty bad results and didn't really score much points, so there's maybe a bit of pressure going into the final round of that. But yeah, I think this year I made a big step up in terms of consistency, so I feel like I don't really think I finished outside the top 10 any races this time out. So yeah, by far the most comfortable to get through.
And next season, a lot of Apex guys in. What are your goals? What do you think you can achieve, and what do you think the team can achieve?
First off, the team. I think last year we saw guys like Kev, Alejandro. These guys are top guys in the sim. So for myself, it's difficult to say. With last year, obviously I struggled quite a bit. But with the recent updates in the cars, I'm feeling definitely a bit more optimistic. I think the car suits me a little bit more now than it did last year. So top 10 overall in the championship's probably a decent goal to chase, I suppose. But yeah, I think like there's easily everybody in the team essentially has a good shot challenging for the championship.
And you've been racing in the British F4 Championship as well. How would you summarise how that season's gone?
Myself, Jamie have had a few unlucky results, getting bumped off the road, so quite a lot of points dropped. But yeah, the second half of the season we've definitely found our feet a bit more. I think the recent results, we've had a double 1, 2, 3 recently there, so definitely starting to find our feet. A bit frustrating at the start of the year, but definitely looking more on the up.
And when you look back at 2022, what are sort of the highlights for yourself in sim racing?
Obviously this year's easily been the most successful, not only for myself, but as a team. We've essentially pretty much wiped the floor every competition we've been in. So I think the 24 at the start of the year probably stands out as the biggest, to win that race against Coanda, who have dominated that race for years essentially. So,
and of course this is your first year in the sim centre. How is it different driving in the sim centre compared to back at home?
Back home, if a light went on, that would be it. I'd be panicking and freaking out, so distracted. Whereas now with the big room, obviously you've got a bunch of other people in rigs beside you. They're doing their own race, sometimes the same race as you. So the biggest difference is probably just getting used to distractions and not being affected by it, which I guess is probably a good thing. If LAN events ever pop up, it's a good advantage to have, being used to that kind of environment. But AC is probably the biggest one, I think. Obviously, I came from a loft conversion, which is all insulated, so it's nice to come through a big event and barely break a sweat compared to back home.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on 2022, Pete, and best of luck for next year.
Yes, thank you very much.
Really interesting what Peter had to say there, Sam, to you. And I find it quite funny and interesting how he's saying about he wouldn't mind racing in a championship that was sponsored by My Little Pony, as long as the prize money was there to the equivalent of or more than what Porsche offer up for the PESC Championship.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are full-time drivers. They get paid to race. They're going to go where the money is, really. So PESC is, yeah, of course, the biggest cash pool, at least in the iRacing world. And so, yeah, no surprise that Pete is convinced to that. Best of luck to him and the Apex Racing team for 2023, and especially in PESC, where a few of them will be going for the championship title.
Definitely a team to watch at the moment, carrying a lot of momentum, a lot of wins. So, okay, keeping an eye out. Let's take a look at the week ahead here at Apex Racing TV. Sam, what's your pick of the bunch for this week to keep an eye out for?
Well, I think pretty much all the official series are the best ones to keep an eye out for, because it's week 12. It's the final week of the iRacing season. And so in the Radicals, it's the final week. We've got IGP Fun, which follows the official series. It's also the final week. Spec Racer Ford as well. Keep an eye out on those season finales because there's going to be some pretty tight championships coming down to the wire. Also, Vic Motec visiting Suzuka, best circuit in the world.
Well, folks, very much for joining us this week on The Late Apex. I've been Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick, and we'll see you in a week's time.